Hi, I'm Ian.
And I'm Jason.
And this is Ghosts and Bears, the only podcast where we bring you the actual ghost stories
With the actual history.
in the actual place. On this episode, we're off to Montana, specifically Helena, to hear about all the ghost stories that have been experienced there, not just by us, but by our guest Grace, who lived there for a while, coming up on Ghosts and Bears. Welcome. This is our first sort of kickoff, really, at post vacation when we did our trip and we went to Helena, Montana.
Yes, I loved Helena.
It was surprisingly really beautiful, and also it's also where we really kind of organically, it's just turning into people sharing where they live or where they've lived and some of the ghost stories they've experienced. And on this episode, we have Grace, who's gonna, who I interviewed on last week, and she told some of her own ghost stories. And then we have some other ghost stories from Helena as well.
Yes, this is exciting.
It is. Speaking of exciting, you're starting something new.
Oh, gosh.
What are you doing?
When am I not starting something new?
I know.
Well, I can kicked and screamed my way into getting my MBA. So
You started that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I
that's been
applied,
crazy.
Friday, whatever that Friday was. I think it was the first or second Friday of the month, and I talked to the dean and the chair, and they were lovely, and they said, "Well, how about starting next week?" And I'm like, "Well, no time like the present, I guess." so I'm literally in the midst of the MBA.
Jason has started his MBA, so for the next 2 years, he's going to be very busy.
Yeah,
and looks like you might be starting a new job soon too. So it's been pretty wild.
I guess my work and performance have done okay. Because I just signed.
Good for you.
I'm supposed to start mid-September, so
that's
it's
awesome.
go.
Yeah,
so nice,
and it has been go.
Nice
and
little promotion. And
my work is coming off of probation, so that's exciting.
And you're going to start working from home.
Working from home. Also have that book due.
I cleared out three cars from the driveway, so now we're down to 3.
A mere 3 cars.
It's crazy.
How will we survive?
I even sold my sports car because I realized very quickly the MBA is going to be consuming my next 21 months.
And also a sports car where you can't drive it in the winter.
That's fine.
Maybe not so great.
We'll get one again.
George.
We have. That's why we have a garage.
And then also my mom's moving here.
Yeah.
October 1st.
She was visiting us while I was in foundation week. I guess she arrived. I had no life.
Yeah.
And then I got home and she was here, and I think she was pretty surprised by Prince George's beauty.
She was very surprised, and she loves
so
it.
Green.
So she's moving into the Prince George Chateau October 1st. So it's been the chateau. So it's been pretty wild.
It's actually pretty cool because the chateau is only about 2 minutes away from us.
Which is, I think, a huge reason why she wants to move in there.
She loves it here. I think she was shocked by how green it is.
It is very green. It's very treed. It's got rivers.
Yes.
It's where 2 rivers meet. It's great. I mean, we've done the PR thing for Prince George on the last episode.
And tons of lakes. Yeah, but it's
been great.
I guess we're just now starting to import Calgarians. And Ian has to really get a kick on it because his Calgary book is coming up.
Oh, yes. It's coming up. Very, very due. And Tori, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry.
Hi, Tori.
But no, other than that, things have been ripping along pretty good, and we've been getting lots of stuff done, and the house is coming together finally.
We sold our townhouse on the island, so that should close end of September. I think September
that money's
27th.
already spent on an MBA. Oh, and we have bears wandering in the neighborhood.
Yes, ironically enough, I got absolutely killer photographs of the one.
Ooh, exciting.
Really killer photographs.
Was that today?
Yes.
Your mom said she shooed a bear away on her dog walk today.
Really?
She texted me and she goes, "This bear was coming and I was scared for Moby and I yelled at him and he ran away."
Good for her.
Yeah, because she gets kind of scared by bears.
Well, this black bear was upset, and it was panting. It was eating the crab apples in the tree.
In the neighbor's yard?
Yes.
Oh, it was closed.
No, just there's another crabapple tree just down the way.
Oh, okay.
That's why it keeps walking up and down the street.
It's going for grocery deliveries.
On the other side of the other ken, there's
Right.
a crabapple tree, like 3 doors down. So there's the Chinese people next to Ken with the Mazda, and you said, oh, they have a Mazda too. But there's another house next door to them that has the crabapple tree, and it went running up the tree, and it was feasting on the crab apples.
Well, it is the season. If you don't know, northern Canada, we do have quite a few bears, and we've seen bears, moose, foxes, coyotes. We saw cougar,
cougar.
The back end of a cougar. Lots of deer, but not like the ones we have on Vancouver Island.
No,
not
these
the
are
prissy little girly deer. No,
These
no,
are not Bambis.
These are
rugged.
tough, kick your butt deer. They are amazing deer.
Yeah, they're rugged deer.
Very rugged deer. So yeah, it's been really fun. But it is feasting season for the bears because of course they have to eat before they go into hibernation, which I can't believe we're at the end of August already. Like it has flown
tomorrow.
by. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because I just started the MBA and all of a sudden now it's the end of August. Now I can totally see why they said the 21 months is.
It goes
I'm freaking
so
out
quick.
because I have to read six chapters by Friday morning.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well,
You'll be fine.
Still. I did get 80% on my last thing, so
Yay.
I'm chuffed about that. I did it in
that's
19
awesome.
minutes, so
Yeah, that's good.
it's
Let's
good.
not brag though. You
I'm
don't
not,
want the
I'm
other
not
students
bragging.
to hate you.
I'm not bragging.
Okay.
No, I'm trying to help them where I can. I've
Yeah,
put
you
together
are. I know you
good
are.
notes.
You got a
and-
study group going.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about one of the
Helena.
places we visited by mistake on our grand tour that we did a few weeks ago. If you are one of our patrons, you are currently hearing in Ghost Stories We Have Heard, Ian and Jason's road trip, where we do talk about each of the towns we stop in. Helena is certainly, I'm just thinking of when these episodes of Ghost Stories We Have Heard drop for patrons, and I think the Helena episode has already dropped. So they're going to have a little bit of an understanding of Helena and our impressions of it. But there is a lot more to Helena's ghosts than I had realized. And I was very lucky to talk to April about that, as you will hear coming up in our ghost time. But before that, we have the popular portion of our show that we like to keep our show on format, one might say. And Jason, you are in charge of history this week. So
I
why don't you
did
tell
the
us a little
history
bit about
because I may
Helena,
as well
Montana?
just make notes while I'm making notes. anyways.
Absolutely. I love that.
So the history of Helena began in 1864, really. It was founded as a gold camp during the Montana Gold Rush. As we know, the western U.S. and Western Canada was the Gold Rush. I came across the thing referring as Last Chance Gulch.
Yep.
So a group of 4 prospectors known as the 4 Georgians discovered gold in the Last Chance Gulch, which would later become the main street of Helena, which is kind of cool. Actually, I think I remember seeing the main street.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a gulch. It
Yes,
is
it
down
is.
in the little ravine
That was,
thing.
yes, because we drove by it and we're like, what is
What
that?
the heck? Yeah.
So the late 1800s, Helena became one of the wealthiest cities in the U.S. due to the rapid gold rush. 1875, it was named as the territorial capital. And in 89, Montana was admitted as the 41st state in the U.S. Helena became its state capital. And in the early 1900s, there was an economic focus shifted from gold to other resources such as timber and agriculture. And now it's expanded as a political and cultural hub of Montana.
Right.
So Helena, like Butte, began as a mining town, was accidentally discovered by the 4 Georgians in 1864.
But Montana.
Yeah, but Butte.
It's Butte. I just like calling it but.
Oh, sorry. After numerous failed attempts in Western Montana, they struck gold and was known as Last Chance Gulch. So I'm reiterating that. The news of the gold discovery led to rapid growth. And
As it does.
It became a boom town. The city was actually initially called Crabtown after one of its founders. And various other names like Pumpkinville and Squashtown were proposed. And miners from Minnesota suggested naming it after St. Helena in Minnesota.
Right.
Later shortened to Helena. So the capital's status.
Pumpkin Town.
Yes. I wouldn't mind that.
That'd be amazing.
Sounds a lot like something Charlie Brown would be interested
Absolutely.
in. The great pumpkin town of Montana. Pumpkinville.
Pumpkinville. That's amazing.
Actually, it's weird. We're only 2 months away from. Wow.
Oh, Halloween's coming, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it's fast.
So the capital status, Montana became the U.S. territory in 1864, with the territorial capital initially in Virginia City. The capital was moved to Helena in 1875, promoting its growth and leading to Virginia City's decline. Capitol building in Helena was situated a mile away from Last Chance Gulch on a hill's lower elevations, and the status of the capital was contested in 1894 by Anaconda, but retained its status after a popular vote.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I did some really good photographs of that particular building.
Yeah, you did.
I used a black and white Leica.
Mm-hmm.
I love that Leica. So anyone who knows
fancy.
photography, I have a monochrome, and that's like one of the amazing Leicas. It literally only shoots in black and white. It's digital.
But it only shoots black and white.
Yeah, it does not have a color Bayer filter.
No.
So it gets spectacular detail because it doesn't have the tricolor filters. So in 1883, the Northern Pacific Railroad reached Helena, accelerating its growth.
Oh, yeah. Once the railroad showed up, everybody showed up.
And despite gold depleting in Last Chance Gulch, Helena continued to thrive to its strategic location, status as a state capital, and development as a transportation hub. It served as a distribution point for mining towns and other industries, and local agriculture also sustained its growth. So some of the challenges: Helena experienced significant fires, leading to the establishment of a historic fire tower.
And that was
overseeing
almost
Last Chance Gulch.
Every small town, you know what I mean, had the historic fire. Vancouver had the giant fire. Like, there's been so many of those. And before we get into those, I was just going to talk about our impression of Helena, because we just stopped there thinking we were on our way to the national park.
Yes.
But then we started driving around it, and we were like, oh
It's
my
stunning.
gosh.
It was kind of like we stumbled upon
Salem, Oregon. That same feeling.
Yes.
The houses, beautiful.
Stately, beautiful.
Like unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
The Capitol grounds, the downtown, all around the Gulch, beautiful.
Yes.
And we were both looking at each other like, how did we not know this? Like, this is a really great city.
Yes.
Or town, I guess. I don't know, city.
Mm-hmm.
And then we drove up to Carroll College, and we both went,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there was something there.
There's definitely something there.
I don't
and
think
actually,
it lighted me taking the pictures.
well, Grace talked about it a bit, about the ghosts in Carroll Hall, because her husband was a professor there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So why don't we hear from Grace, and then we'll come back, and you can talk to us about some of the ghost stories you gathered, and I've got a couple, and we'll go from there.
That sounds great.
All right, everybody, stick with us. Once we are back after me chatting with Grace, we'll have a few more ghost stories to wrap up for you.
After
coming
these
up.
messages,
We'll be right back. All right. Hello, Grace.
Hello, Ian.
Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for spending the last 20 minutes trying to get this stupid technology to work. But oh well, we did it. That's the important part.
Yeah.
So Grace Johnson is someone who's been listening to our show for a while. That is correct, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
I
it's kind of
followed you over from the other podcast that she
Oh,
named.
amazing. Yeah, right? Like Voldemort. And your mom is also one of our supporters, which is amazing. So that's very cool. Thank you, Gina.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
We love you guys.
We have Grace here because one of the things we'd said in the most recent podcast is we really wanted people to tell us about the ghosts in their hometown, and the reason we did that is because when we took our little mini road trip and we went through Montana and Alberta and Idaho, I knew it was an I word, that we discovered all these amazing small towns with these crazy amounts of ghost stories. And that got me thinking, Oh, so we're missing probably 90% of the actual ghost stories. So that's not good. And then I realized, wait, we've got this amazing web of listeners across the United States, across the world, really, but a whole bunch in the United States. And wouldn't it be cool to have people come on and talk about the ghosts in their town, or either their hometown or a town they lived in, or whatever? And Grace, you were one of the first people to step up. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. Yeah, I heard you guys were doing Helena, and I was like, I have been holding on to these stories for you for years.
I
To do all this.
love that. Well, then it's worked out really well. Because, I mean, and as you know from listening to the show, Jay and I moved to Prince George, and suddenly all the local quote-unquote stories were just not going to cut it for having a show on a regular basis. So I'm kind of loving the direction this is going. And ultimately, this is what I want, is a community of people sharing these stories. So honestly, if I tried to design this or think of this, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. But the fact that circumstance and the universe are making it happen is amazing. So thank you for being part of this. Yes.
Well, thank you.
So, Helena, we drove into Helena having no idea anything about it. It was a place to stop for the night, and we were absolutely blown away by this little town in Montana, which is just so lovely and has such incredibly nice houses and all these other things. And I definitely sensed, specifically from the college. What's the Catholic college there?
Carroll College.
Carroll College. Thank you, Bishop Carroll. We drove in onto that campus, and I went, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this place is hella creepy. So I would love to let's kick off and jump into your stories. First off, where are you living now? Where do you live now?
I'm in Bothell now. Bothell, Washington, which is just north of Seattle. So
oh, okay. Nice.
You moved we were making plans to come up this October to listen to your chat, your Victoria walks, and then you moved.
Oh, no. And then I left.
But now I get to talk to you this way, so it's
true.
Even better.
Well, you just have to come further north, because we're talking about, I might do a Prince George walk. So I'm thinking about that. So just come a little further north. No big deal.
That'd be crazy. That'd be so much fun.
I know.
So we lived in Helena for 5 years.
Okay.
Before that, I grew up in Missoula. I went
to
college, came back, moved to Bozeman for a long time, and then we moved to Helena. And I was very, very, very sensitive as a kid, but then I had kids. And I think I had a serious case of mom brain and was not picking up anything. And part of me was like, well, maybe I've outgrown this, whatever this is. And
oh, sure.
I'm
yeah.
frazzled, I can't.
Yeah, I've had the same thoughts.
Can't pick
yeah,
any.
like it's just, maybe it's just for a time and now it's over. But and then the universe has a funny way of telling you no.
So all the stories I have from Helena is during this time where my son was in the first grade, my daughter had just been born. She was a super colicky baby, so I was not sleeping.
Right.
And I was not in tune at all. So I was so freaking dense. I did not realize that everything I was experiencing wasn't real, quote unquote.
Wow, that is kind of cool.
That gives this extra little tip to it. So next to Carroll College has stories all unto itself. The only thing I've experienced in Carroll itself is this feeling of being followed and watched, which isn't very exciting. But there are stories there that I don't personally have.
Right.
But across the street from Carroll is this little tiny cemetery. I'm spacing on its name. Benton's. It's on Benton.
Right.
And this cute little cemetery. And it's one of the original cemeteries of the town. And to go from our apartment to the school, we had to drive past it. I was driving past it all the time.
Right.
So my son was in the first grade, right at the very beginning of the school year. It was picture day. And we're driving past, and I said, there were kids playing in the cemetery. Right. And I said to my husband, I was like, oh, that's so cute. That's funny. They're playing in the cemetery. Parents are going to be pissed when they get their clothes all dirty before picture day. And my husband turned and he was like, what kids?
Oh,
but by that point, it's one of those kind of blink and you miss it.
Yeah, yeah.
Cemeteries. So I was like, oh, they were back there. So we turned the corner, we dropped my son off. No big deal. And I remember it was 3 kids in button-up shirts, 3, at least one taller boy, I think a girl and a little tiny boy
Right.
in button-up shirts, and then a girl in a bright yellow dress.
Right.
And they were doing this like peeky up and down behind the tombstones at each other thing.
Right.
Super cute. And didn't think anything of it. A month and a half later, now we're at the end of October, and it's gotten cold.
Right.
So the other thing on the other side of Benton is the train tracks. And so when the train goes through, you're just stuck.
Right. Yeah. Nothing you can
forever.
do. Yeah. Yeah.
No, you're just stuck. So we were already running late for school, and we're stuck behind the train. I'm getting flustered, and we're finally going, and I see the girl in the yellow dress sitting in the tree. There's one tree in that cemetery that looks out onto the train tracks. And I'm
this
like,
was a different
there
time?
she is. Yeah, this is a month and a half later.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, there's that girl again in the tree. She must really like that dress.
Oh, boy.
And it's got white lace on the collar. That's a really pretty dress. Again, my husband, he's like, huh, what? He was a professor at Carroll. He's getting ready.
Yeah,
We're running late, you know. His brain's elsewhere. And then we get to the corner where I turn to go to the elementary school, and I suddenly had this like super panic. And I was like, she didn't have a coat. Honey, she didn't have a coat.
Oh, boy.
And he's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, the little girl in the yellow dress didn't have a coat. And it's cold. It's really, it's the end of October.
He's like, she doesn't need a coat.
Well, he didn't. He was like, okay, whatever, All right, honey. So I dropped my son off. I dropped my husband off. And then I drove up and down that street looking for her. And I drove all the way to the elementary school. And then I drove the way you would walk if you were going to the middle school, because I couldn't quite tell how old she was. She could have been 5th through 7th grade-ish.
Yeah.
So I drove all the way there, and I didn't see her. And I was just panicking. This poor girl. We have a lot of low-income students. A lot of them don't have coats in the winter.
Right. So it is an actual issue.
Yeah, I was in full mom panic mode. And I told my son, if you see that girl in the yellow dress, tell me. And I put a coat in my car if we saw her again. So speed up time a little bit. He finishes the 1st grade. He finishes the 2nd grade. I'm still keeping an eye out for this girl in the yellow dress. 3rd grade starts. Halfway through 3rd grade, the pandemic hits.
Right, yes.
So we didn't see anybody. 4th grade starts. We're still in virtual school. And Montana has a thing where all 4th grade students start Montana history in the 4th grade. And virtually we were focusing on reading and math. So they weren't going to get into history. So I took it upon myself to create a Montana history curriculum.
Cool.
And we started with just government.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went and toured the Capitol building, which has its own stories. But not my stories. But we had a great time touring the Capitol. And then right around, we got to October again, and it was like, well, let's do the Haunted Helena. Let's read Haunted Helena, Montana's Queen City Ghosts by Ellen Balmer. And she's like
I saw that online, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just like you, has this whole series of books. So I bought this book for my son, and I was like, here you go. This is a fun way to learn history.
Yeah.
He reads the book, and he goes, Mom, you need to read this. And I was like, okay, put it on my nightstand, I'll get to it. Like, no, Mom, you need to read it now. And I was like, okay. So the next day, he's doing his lessons, and I just plow through the book. And I got to the end of the book, the very last story, and I just started crying. Just crying. And he's like, you got to Fern, didn't you? And I'm like, I got to Fern. And he's like, Mom, you found the girl in the yellow dress.
Oh, wow.
And I had been driving around for 2 years with a coat for a girl that was no longer alive.
Oh, my gosh.
So
how long ago had she kind of departed?
1911.
Okay.
She died in 1911. So Fern Marie Wilson died in 1911 at 15 years old. I do have a little history blip for you, if that's okay. She lived in her grandmother's boarding house, who boarded the railway workers. Right. And she was being accused of being very flirtatious and improper with these young men. And to be fair, she kind of was. Right. She was receiving letters. some gifts, photos. Being 15, I would have been like, oh, yay, I've got a bunch of older guy friends.
Well, exactly. And she's probably totally bored.
Yeah. But she was being accused of being improper. Right. And rumors were everywhere in Helena at that time. And she drank carbolic acid.
No, because her reputation was up being smeared.
Yes, and died. And she was buried in her favorite dress, with the yellow dress with the white lace.
That's so sad.
And her favorite place is to hang out in the tree that is directly above her tombstone. I met Ellen, and she said it's usually children who see her.
Right.
Because she does history tours with the children.
Yeah.
So she thought it was really unusual that I had seen her. So, yeah, poor Fern. I had been totally momming her 100 years later, just sick for her that she was worried she was cold and she was fine.
That's kind of awesome though. I mean, maybe it's because you were so completely mom brained at the time that it was why you saw her, because your brain was kind of tuned to that way.
And I think so. The other story that I have is from the Power Block building, which is in downtown Helena. This one I didn't see anything. I said something weird and didn't realize how weird it was to other people until I read the stories. I was with a whole group of people. We were up protesting a senator who is in the Power Block building, doing our diligent duty there. And the elevator kept coming up and opening, and there was nobody there. And it would just close, and then the doors would open again, and it would come up and down, and then it would come back, and it would open. And somebody was like, that's really weird. What's with the elevator? And I'm like, oh, well, the bellhop just wants to watch. She's bored. And everyone around me kind of looked at me like, crazy lady, what are you talking about? And I was like,
you're like,
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'd be bored. Again, reading Haunted Helena, I didn't realize how weird that statement was. I just said something because I thought it was funny. Turns out that Helen Tarrant was 13 years old. Mm-hmm. It was very unusual to have a girl running elevators, but she was, they hired her. She was super responsible. She was also underage. Yeah. And one day she never came home from her shift.
Oh, no.
And these were those open elevators, with the birdcage doors, the older ones. And she was crushed between the elevator and the wall in 1943. I know, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And that elevator has never worked since. They have replaced it a number of times. You will press buttons and it won't go to the right floor unless you specifically ask, please take me to the second floor. It will come up and down and open randomly. And I just said that kind of offhandedly, like, whatever, that makes sense to me. And no, it's a thing. So that's an experience.
That's really cool. And I've heard that with elevators.
There's a friend who works at Central Elementary, which is the big elementary school right on the hill that overlooks downtown. The school was originally condemned because it had asbestos. So they just built this brand new, beautiful building. And he was complaining that all of the electrical wires and the plumbing kept breaking. Brand new building, less than 6 months old. Why isn't it working? And I jokingly said, well, it's haunted.
Right.
And we had a good laugh. Ha, ha, ha. Isn't that funny? Turns out that the original Pioneer Cemetery is the location where that building is. And they had upturned everybody.
Oh, no. Of course they had.
They had moved them. Of course. They moved them to Benton Cemetery.
Yeah.
So they were still close by, but they moved everybody, and then they built this school on top. But they discovered in the rebuild that they had missed a few people.
Big surprise. Big surprise.
Big surprise. Yeah. So, yeah, it's possible that, and I always got this creep feeling, even from the brand new building, that there's just something odd there. it also explains why I kept seeing people outside Benton Cemetery just kind of sitting on the hill overlooking the tracks. And I assumed that they were homeless, vagrant people. No, they might very well have been
displaced people.
pioneers.
Yeah, displaced pioneer people.
Displaced, still displaced, but yeah, the pioneers, because they had these really big, broad-rimmed hats that would have been historically accurate for any of the miners in the area.
Sure,
so
100%. Wow, that's wild. I have to tell you, if you're wondering why I'm delayed in talking back to you, it's because for whatever reason the signal's cutting in and out on your end. You just suddenly goes silent. No, it's not. It's fine, because remember I said it's recording you separately and then it will upload together. But if you're wondering why I'm like delayed in responding to you, it's because I'm sitting here for a count of 5 in complete silence, and then suddenly you come back. So it's very weird. But
okay, or you get okay. And I do have one other experience that I had.
Please.
In Reader's Alley. Reader's Alley is the original homesteading area for the miners.
And I've heard that there's some spookiness going on down there.
Super spooky.
Yeah.
It's super fun. Now it's all like cute little restaurants and artisan shops. It's so adorable.
It really is.
My son actually and I we were all there as a family, but he and I kept hearing birds. And we were like, what is this? And we looked in all the bushes and it was like 3 little sparrows. And it was like, they are not making enough noise for all of these birds. What in the heck?
Right.
But my son was in the 4th grade and my husband was like, okay, whatever, it's a couple of birds. There was a woman, and I don't have this story in front of me to relay the history correctly, but she would put her canaries out on her stoop and then sell illegal liquor. Okay. And so that was the cover. So people are just buying the birds. That's why they're here. They're just enjoying my canaries. There's nothing here, officer. No illegal liquor.
That's what all miners are into. Canary.
Oh, yeah.
Well, for other reasons, but not for...
Well, and it wasn't... that would have been a little later during Prohibition.
Right.
But yeah, these are just the birds. They're just selling birds. No liquor here.
Nothing to see here.
And... nothing to see here. And another one is if you go all the way up to the top of Reader's Alley, there's a bridge, and it's called Morelli Bridge. And people have reported seeing a woman walking on that bridge. No one's quite sure of her story, but that same visit that my son and I heard the birds, we heard footsteps on top of the bridge, and run and look, and there's nobody there. But then you go under the bridge and you can hear someone pacing back and forth. And every time I've gone to the bridge, I've heard someone pacing on the bridge. So I don't know exactly what's happening there. I've had some weird things out at the other cemetery, yeah.
Okay.
But that was just sort of vague. Like, there's things here. We went on a ghost tour. And I turned to my husband, I said, there's a lot of people here. He's like, oh, yeah, there was a lot of people on the hayride. I'm like, no, honey, there's a lot of people here.
No.
I get you now.
Yeah.
In that case, what I was getting is those sort of mental, like the pictures in your kind of third eye sort of pictures. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Oh, 100% I do. Yeah.
In that case, I got a lot of sort of it was more jovial. Like at that time, cemeteries were designed to go visit the dead, so you would go picnic. Yeah, and it felt like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Lots of people walking around. It was kind of more of a. I feel like places have memories, so it felt kind of like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
With the one exception. We went out on the tour and she took us out to the back lot and she said somewhere out here, we're not exactly certain, is the Chinese population. And all their graves are, none of them are marked. We don't know exactly. We are really trying to work to find where these people are. And because, it was racism at the time.
100%.
They were just sort of put out there. And to me, I could feel like a Chinese New Year's celebration in my, that third eye feeling. I could feel like the dancing dragon. They would have had their celebrations out there with their loved ones.
With their loved ones, with their ancestors.
Yeah, that's kind of all I've got.
That's cool. No, those are great. And I found some other ones for like Readers Alley and Carroll College and things like that. So it'll be great. Like what the best thing is when people have their own experiences and can share them. So thank you for doing this.
Of course.
But if you and if you're sitting out there listening to this thinking, oh, I know some weird stuff about my town, tell us. You don't have to speak on the show like Brave Grace. You can just type it up and send it in, and we will do it that way. So I know we've already got one from a listener down in Florida that we're looking at doing. So that would be fun too. So yeah, because Florida is pretty kooky. Florida is pretty kooky.
Oh yeah, that's just without the history involved. Florida's kooky. So.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
All right, Grace. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I am so grateful. I'm really happy you were willing to do this, and I look forward to getting this episode out there.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Yeah. No, thank you. And hopefully this recording worked great, and we don't have to speak, like this again. I mean, we can speak again, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, if we need to re-record, you just buzz me and we're good. It's all good.
You are incredibly kind and generous, and I am so grateful. Thank you. All right, you have a great rest of your weekend, and we will talk to you again. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
And there we go. Thank you so much, Grace, for that.
Thank you, Grace.
She took the time as a busy mom, and she talked to me, and I'm so grateful. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Now back to Stories of Pumpkinville. Helena.
Or whatever you wish to call it.
Or whatever you wish to call it, apparently.
Yes.
Now, Jay, you had found some. Why don't you tell us some of yours?
Oh, yes. So I found one of the more interesting ones, because you guys talked about Reader's Alley, was the old Montana State Prison in Deer Lodge. Mm-hmm. So it was established in the late 1800s, and the prison had a violent history of riots, murders, and executions.
As you do.
And ghostly tales revolve around apparitions of former inmates, naturally, right?
Yep.
I love this. Disembodied screams and cell doors slamming shut on their own. That sounds a lot like the one that we saw in APTN's The Other Side.
Yes.
Remember that
prison?
Creepy prison.
Very creepy.
Where those two boys had to kill the baby or something because the mom. Yes, the manipulated the boys.
And they didn't even stay the whole night in that prison, did they? They got out of there. The team did.
I think so. Yeah. So when I read about this, I was thinking, ugh, that prison.
Yeah.
So one of the most prominent ghosts is said to be that of former inmate Turkey Pete.
Turkey Pete in Pumpkinville. Pete. I'm just hearing a great kid's book. That's what I'm hearing.
So Turkey Pete Eitner, who spent over 30 years in the prison, he was often blamed for various paranormal activities.
Oh.
I'm sure he doesn't really gobble like a turkey.
Oh,
but you never know.
Oh
I don't know why. Why would you have that name?
Turkey Pete?
In Pumpkinville?
I don't know.
Actually, that's kind of getting to a theme of Halloween.
Yeah.
Turkey and Halloween.
Turkey Pete in Pumpkinville.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a kid's book. It's
investigation teams and visitors have reported various experiences from cold spots to full apparitions. Wouldn't that be interesting?
No.
I would think that would be
I would not want to see that. I was reading about one, the Myrna Loy Theater, who was a silent movie actress, is in the old county jail. Now, what jail were you talking about?
Oh, this is old Montana State Prison.
Okay, so this is the Lewis and Clark County Jail.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was pretty famous for being generally really awful. It was a really terrible place to be. People get really bad heebie-jeebies when they go in there, especially in the hall area around the women's restroom. The old Lewis and Clark County Jail was converted into the Myrna Loy Center for the Performing Arts in the early 90s, with extensive renos done, including some new additions.
Well, I hope renos were done.
Yeah, right? But as in so many other cases, remodeling stirred up some things, notably in the basement, where the solitary confinement area was including the hole, an isolation tank, and unfortunately lots of suffering seems to have permeated these walls. Down in the basement, one of the men working for the center was confronted with something so nasty that they actually had to get the place blessed. And you know it's bad when the workmen are like, nope, not going back down there unless something gets done.
That's like what happened at the Empress in Victoria.
Yeah, that's right.
In that one section.
That's right. People have had strange experiences here. Several have had encounters in the basement, specifically running from feelings or... Who isn't running from feelings? No, running from feelings. Running from feelings of being watched.
I just learned that in org behavior.
To feared physical
Emotions
sensations.
and moods.
Emotions and moods. Are you learning that?
Yes, emotions are immediate and moods are long term.
Great, thank you.
Fascinating.
I'm going to buy one of those posters. I feel sad.
Angry.
Angry.
I think we learned 6 general emotions by psychologists, but
God.
emotions are immediate and moods are rather long term.
Nice. Thank you for that, Professor.
Org behavior.
All right.
So when I see feelings, I'm sitting here thinking, I just learned about that.
Feelings. What are feelings?
How do we contribute to the business world with org behavior in the ghost world? I don't know.
I did find a great interview that I thought had a good ghost story in it too, and it's by this woman named Ellen Baumler. And if I'd known this book was there, I would have bought it. But unfortunately, when we were there, all the bookstores were closed.
We did get, well, in Helena, yes.
But
we did.
Des Moines.
No.
You know.
The place we always go to in
the
Washington.
place we always forget the name of. Coeur d'Alene, near Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, it's where Dante's Peak was filmed.
That terrible, terrible movie, which we're going to have an episode on.
Anyway, that movie.
Anyway, I didn't
so
get
fun.
Ellen's book. I'm very sorry, but I did find this interview with Ellen, and here's what she said. There's stories here in Helena that I can't tell, whispered Helena-based author and historian Ellen Baumler. They're just too recent and too horrible.
Ooh.
She knows what she's talking about because history is a messy thing, and it doesn't always stay buried. A good example is Helena's appropriately named Hangman's Tree, formerly located in the Hillsdale and Highland area of the capital city. Here, vigilantes dispense justice by placing a rope-wearing individual on the back of a horse. They would then send the horse running and the criminal swinging. But long after that tree was out of commission, activity seems to still be going on. One of the really creepy stories is that there is a house that's still there that was in the pathway of the horse, the runaway horse, said Baumler. And people who lived there at one time experienced what they thought were the hooves of the devil. They experienced this thundering horse running through their house, and to me, that's residual energy of that. On the other side of town, a bridge spanning the historic Reader's Alley has a less menacing but just as ghostly presence. She, the unnamed runner, and her friend were running across the bridge and heard these kind of footsteps, and as they passed, it was sort of this fleeting thing. They both saw the same thing. A woman, dressed in 19th century clothing, with a high neck and a bun on her head. And the friend said to this runner, "Oh my God, how could they be dressed like that in this kind of weather? How could she be dressed like that? It's so hot." And so the runner knew that her friend saw the same thing. She would claim to have seen the same apparition on 3 separate times. So as you can tell, Helena, lots going on. I wonder if physically the gulch has something to do with it.
I would imagine
That
people
kind of
were
energy
killed
pool.
in the gulch.
But I also think there's a bit of an energy pull there.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
you often find a lot of ghostly things going on in mountains and valleys and things like that. So I wonder. Oh, I'm sure lots of people were killed for their gold. Just
Oh, for sure. Just like 108 Mile
108
House.
Mile House. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
they weren't all murdered by a psychotic Scotch lady, but they,
No, that's
they were
true.
killed by each other, I'm sure.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
Maybe that was the purpose of the brothals.
Just
Entertainment and then die.
entertainment and die. Yeah, well,
So we can take
that
your
makes
gold.
sense.
It's like in excess.
All right, what else do you have for us?
Well, I wanted to talk to people about the nearby Native American tribes.
Ah, yes.
So
You mean the original owners of the land?
yeah. So when I came across was the Shoshone, And they're primarily located further west, and they did venture into Montana, especially when hunting buffalo. And they were known for their horsemanship and played a significant role during the Lewis and Clark expedition, especially with the guidance of Sacagawea. And she herself apparently was a Shoshone woman.
You know, this is one of my, as you know, pet peeves. Where we go, Lewis and Clark this, Lewis and Clark that, Lewis and Clark. And then
Sacagawea was
and then you find out the only reason Lewis and Clark survived was because of Sacagawea, who actually knew where she was going, A.
Yes.
B, knew how to survive. C.
I don't know if she actually knew where she was going, but she knew how to
She knew how to get there,
Yes,
yeah.
that's correct. Yeah, she was an excellent guide.
But she was the one who actually, quote unquote, discovered everything. But
Lewis and Clark
get all the credit.
Yeah, there's the Lewis and Clark Trail. You'll find that along Interstate 90
yeah.
and a portion of Pacific Coast Highway. It's
Lewis
kind of
and
funny.
Clark, everything.
Yes, so it's ironic because one of the trips we did actually go to, and I felt a spirit there, was in Montezana, Washington. So I'm moving off a bit topic because that was
Not you.
That was I got to touch his house and take photos. I loved it.
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain,
Yeah.
yes, where he grew up in Montezano.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was going there because we came across a monument was that the Columbia River?
Yeah.
And that was on the other side
Yep.
of the Astoria Bridge.
Yes. I remember this and I laughed so hard.
There's this kind of monument to Sacagawea. And
It's a little
Lewis and
pull
Clark.
off
Yes.
beside the river. It's a little pull off.
And they were there for days in this miserable storm and hiding.
And the only reason they lived is because Sacagawea fished for them, hunted for them,
And then-
found them
and then-
firewood,
I
and
think-
kept them alive
and I
as they literally sat there huddled, crying in the corner of the whatchamacallit?
Well, I'm thinking
cliff.
you may be embellishing it a bit, but I know the other tribes came to help.
They even brought them food.
Yes.
I mean, pathetic.
Oh, yeah, I think it was like 7 or 8 days.
Yeah.
They said.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
these poor people.
I know. So funny.
It's interesting.
So I, for one, think we should change it from Lewis and Clark to Sacagawea, but that's just me.
And then I came across the Salish, and historically the Salish lived in the western Montana region. They're known for their artistic expressions, especially their beadwork, and the U.S. government in the late 1800s forced them into the Flathead Reservation.
What?
I'm not sure.
They took their land?
No.
No, I'm sure they wanted to go and live in a tiny portion of the territory they used to roam freely on.
Yes.
They're like, oh, it's so much for us. We're so much happier here.
Yeah, here's a little image of your former self.
We don't want this 20,000 square foot home. We'd rather be in a small trailer. Thank you so much.
Oh my god! But that's fun.
Yeah. Not for them.
And as we drove through Montana, the next day we encountered that insane storm.
Yeah, it was intense. You have not seen a storm till you've seen a across the plains of America storm.
Oh my gosh!
It was crazy.
The brand new RAV4 Prime handled it exceptionally well, but I wasn't worried about that. We were down to 30 miles an hour on Interstate 90 in Montana.
Yep.
But that storm was sheets of rain.
Yeah.
And I said to Ian, I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about the people that drive still at 70 miles an hour in the fast lane because they're silly. And we saw some accidents because of that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And I said,
Definitely.
I'm only concerned about flash floods.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Montana is exciting.
Montana is exciting. And Helena as well does have some other ghostly places, and we don't have as much detail on those. There's the J.F. Allen boarding stables.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
Which is ironically now the county courthouse. And people have still heard the sound of hooves and the sound of horses in there. There's also the Scottish Rite and Masonic Lodge, and I'm pretty sure they're pretty much all old Masonic lodges have something going on. The Placer Hotel, the Toole Mansion, the Granite Block, the Power Block, Big Dorothy's Windbag Saloon, which
I like that.
Sounds amazing. And of course, what we were talking about with Reader's Alley, Morelli's Bridge, and I believe we talked about that with our guests. But also the other one that you and I both kind of ran into was when we went to Carroll University.
Yes.
So it was not a good place. It had a lot of ghostly energy going on, and that was confirmed.
I'm not surprised because
Yeah.
I didn't feel very comfortable taking the pictures.
No.
Well, there was that murder of crows on the one.
Yes.
And they did not like my presence there. But
No.
whatever, I took the
No.
pictures. Whatever.
No.
Silly crows.
Silly crows.
Tricks are for kids.
I do what I want.
I'm here. I'm only taking some photos, but it was a beautiful evening.
Yes.
That
It
was
was a
July.
stunning town. And I'm really, really grateful we got to go because that was a really fun trip.
Yes.
And I'd love to go back. I would go back to Eugene, Oregon and Helena, Montana. Both
You
those
mean
places.
Salem.
And Salem. I'd stay for a couple of nights in both just to drive
we'll
around
stop
and check them
by
out.
Eugene so that we can have red lobster again. That's why we were in Eugene,
That is true.
because Eugene didn't have a lot.
No.
But Salem was stunning because it's the capital.
But it was the same thing. We drove around going, holy
Oh,
cats.
yeah, it was.
This place is amazing.
All the houses are beautiful
Yeah.
and they're period, and they haven't just knocked them down for something better,
Yeah. No, it's true.
which is what's happening in Victoria right now.
Yep. And
Why
that's
would
why
you
we
have a
left. The end.
150-year-old house and then just knock it down for some grand, ugly palatial thing that looks like a block?
Looks like a dentist's office combined with a hydro station.
Well, that's the thing. You know what? As long as it has a slanted roof,
Oh, well,
It's
then
all-
it's the epitome of glamour.
corrugated steel,
Corrugated steel and a slanted roof, and you got it made.
it's suddenly cool.
All right. Now, usually, because we already did our little music and break for this, we are going to actually go straight into our thanks to our lovely, lovely patrons.
Yes.
And we want to thank them for their kindness and patience with us.
Yes.
And actually, this is actually Grace's mom. So special shout out to her. Wait, no, I'm not sure I got the right person. I don't want to say it now.
I'm not sure. Let's just go through the list and say
Let's just
thank
go
you.
through the list and say thank you. So thank you to our patrons. If you are interested in being a patron, you certainly can. Just go to patreon.com, look up Ghosts and Bears, and your support helps us basically fund our trips and
Yeah.
and pay for our equipment and pay for our upkeep of all the memberships we need to have to run the podcast.
I'm
and
surprised. It seems like this recording is going smoother than the last one.
the last one was awful. Oh,
my
I didn't
gosh.
even mention that.
What was that?
The last recording, when we did 108 Mile House, and I
Oh my
swear it's like
gosh.
something came back with us because everything that could have gone wrong went
did.
wrong. Usually I will sit down and edit the episode right after we're done. And I started to edit it.
We had like 6 takes.
We had 6 different
But the
chunks
mics
of
weren't
sound
writing?
and nothing matched. The mics wouldn't
weren't
work.
doing it. It
The
was creating
software
new
was
tracks.
the software was going crazy.
It was going into stereo mode, and that's not allowed.
I actually just
What was
walked
that?
away.
But when you walked away and I sat here
Yeah.
reading, I thought I saw something across
Yeah,
the
you said
basement.
that. You said that. I wonder seriously if that old nasty woman from 108 Mile House showed up or something.
I was
'cause we
wondering,
weren't being very
'cause I
kind
didn't-
about her.
Well,
Well, she's not
I
a
know
nice
she
person.
did not like me.
No, but my point is, it was awful. It took me
Well,
probably
Randy
4.5
was acting
hours.
really weird
I
for
know.
those few days we got back.
But this is going great. He said, cursing himself.
No, this is. We haven't had any weird anomalies. Because you remember one of the times in the takes I pointed at after you hit record and you didn't take notice, but I noticed
Yeah.
nothing was recording.
Yeah, I know. It was really bad.
You
the
hit
whole thing was
record
bad.
and the timing
Yeah.
the timing bar was moving, but
No,
nothing was recording.
it was awful. I have no idea what happened. But this, so far,
It
so
seems
good.
to be working.
Let's just go with that.
Yay.
So, if you'd like to be a patron, you're going to end up, if you are one of our patrons, you're going to end up with a sticker or a coffee mug or a T-shirt. You're also
sorts of
going to get our
grossing
and you're
merch. Everyone loves the
everyone
merch.
loves merch.
I love merch.
You're going to get our ghost stories we have heard, our road trip
Yes.
ghost stories. So you're going to come along with us and do that. And any insider stuff we do, we post some insider stuff. We post pictures of where we've been and the episodes and things like that. So definitely check that out. We'd love to have you with us. And also if you are living in a town right now and you're like, oh, I've heard some ghost stories, and you start Googling and find out there's even more ghost stories that you didn't know about, send us an email.
Yes.
You don't have to talk on it. You
No.
can just send them to
You
us.
can talk through us.
You can talk through
You
us.
can channel our bodies.
No, that's creepy, and no one's doing
That
that.
would be very weird.
We would love to have the ghost stories from where you are.
Yeah.
As we kind of transform our format from actual ghost stories with the actual history from the actual place.
Yes.
Notably through our listeners who are sharing with us. And we've already had a couple other people step up. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
so
thank
please
you.
do. Just send us an email. That's the best way to do it. Don't send it Facebook Messenger or anything because those get lost. I don't understand all the meta. It's just weird. But
the meta is odd. It just kind of becomes this ugly mess.
I can't even, some of them I can't
Partially
even open.
For our listeners is because we get so much spam.
Yeah. And part of it is I can't open some of them. It won't open.
Yeah,
so,
it's so bizarre.
So ghosts and bears, the letter N, ghosts and bears at gmail.com. Please send us an email. We would love to hear from you. And that is actually how we got our last guest, April. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Yes.
All right, here we go. Thanking in no particular order, Robin,
Amos,
Maria,
Gina,
Sharon,
Dawn,
Adam,
Bryce,
Sherry,
Marion,
Kathleen,
Alexa,
Ruth,
Mary Frances,
Gina and Victoria,
Christopher,
David,
Ashley,
Jeremiah,
Elizabeth,
Sam,
BB Nix,
Melinda,
Jordan,
Tammy,
Taya,
Evan,
Arwin,
Steve,
Kyle and Charlotte,
Catherine.
Myri.
Yay! Thank you,
very
you
much.
guys. We are so grateful to you.
We are having a lot more fun, I think, here.
Well, you know what? The thing is, I'm not gonna lie. When we moved here in April, it was chaos. Like trying to figure out new jobs and everything.
Well, trying to
now,
figure out where the stuff was and order new things.
Well, yeah.
Because
But right now,
our recording gear was magically missing.
I know, but it's starting to like we're figuring it out. So
Yes,
thank you for
it's a bit of a
sticking with us.
reboot. Yeah,
We basically rebooted our whole lives.
I'm kind of glad the laptop didn't blow up. It was acting weird the last time, but this time it seems to be working
everything
good.
seems to be going smoothly. Of course, now the file will delete itself or something. That's what's going to happen because that's my
I
luck.
hope not, because this was a lengthy one.
But we want to thank you guys for sticking with us. Thanks for listening. Again, we are open to feedback. If you want to help us out, please write us a review. We would love that. Give us a 5-star review on Apple. That
Tell
helps.
us, yes.
Anything to get kind of the podcast up and noticed would be absolutely wonderful, and we'd be eternally grateful. So yeah, just look for it. Ghosts and Bears. And remember, if you're wondering what kind of podcast that gives you the actual ghost story
With the actual people.
in
the actual history?
Yes.
Oh, man. I'm tired. I
in
was
the
studying.
actual place and history and people,
Yeah.
then that's us. And we are Ghosts and Bears. And hopefully one day soon,
That will be with you.
it will be with you, either through email or chatting.
Or you can
maybe,
channel us.
Or no, no, you cannot.
You know, we've been watching this interesting show called Evil. It's
Yeah.
actually pretty...
It's very good, but I'm not inviting anyone to channel us.
No, that is
right.
weird.
Thanks, everybody. You guys have a wonderful night, day, week,
evening,
whatever you're doing.
Weekend.
And we will
Maybe you're studying for your MBA.
and
Good luck.
And
Oh my
maybe we'll
gosh.
be back with you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.